Hey guys, welcome back to Magician Reacts. This is Devin Stewart, Magician, and I'm here with a good friend of mine, Jordan Rooks, coming to us all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. How you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing great, Devin. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm looking forward
I
to
I appreciate you coming on so much. I've been doing a few of these interviews, and they've been a lot of fun to do, and catch up with you guys and see what you guys have been up to. So I just want to go over a couple questions, and then I want to see some magic from you, because the whole point of this is to react to magic. So I hope you brought something I haven't seen yet. You probably have. I mean, I haven't seen you in person in a few years. But I guess question number one, right off the bat, what was your start? What was the moment in your life when you decided I'm going to be a magician? Like, what was that?
So the day before my 13th birthday, I actually went to a restaurant in Indianapolis. It wasn't Illusions. It was a couple years after Illusions closed. And I saw this magician. His name was Mike Close, just doing table magic for a whole bunch of people. And he took a card, and when he put the card through the bill, it inverted inside out. So the back then became the front, and the back was inside the front. And then when he pushed it back, it was back out, and the front was inside. And I said, holy crap, how did you do that? And he goes, I can't tell you I'm a magician. And I go, screw you, dude. How did you do that? I was a feisty 12-year-old. And he goes, I can't tell you, it's a magician's code. So I went home that night, the night before my birthday, and I destroyed 2 decks of playing cards, which is a lot for parents that aren't have magicians for kids. And I destroyed 2 decks of cards, and I went back the next day on my birthday, and the magician was still there. And I go, hey, sir, I got a trick to show you. And I took the card, and I grabbed a bill out of my pocket, and when I pushed my card through the bill, it inverted. And he goes, holy crap, kid, do that again. So I did it again, and he goes, how did you do that? And I go, I can't tell you, I'm a magician now. And then he explained that he actually created the magic tricks, and he was selling them, and that's what he did for a living. He had it on like VHS and a little pamphlet. And he was like, you need to stay in the magic scene for a while. So I started going to these indie magic meetings monthly, and then I just started from there.
Wow. That's awesome. And it's so funny. I think we take for granted sometimes the effect that we have on the people who see our magic. And it's always been a special moment to me. Whenever somebody, comes up afterwards and says, hey, that was really, really cool. Or especially a little kid who, is like, oh, I love magic. And it's like for that brief moment, magic became real for somebody else. We do it so much and so long that we feel like we're just actors and performers, but, to other people, it's real stuff. And, we get to have cool effects on people like that. So that's great. And I don't know him personally, but I am familiar with that magician just because I'm also from Indianapolis. So, knowing names, but that's awesome. So you're in Vegas. I mean, you're in Vegas. You've worked with some big guys. I remember you telling me you work with Copperfield. You're one of the teachers at the Jeff McBride Magic and Mystery School, which Jeff McBride is one of my mentors. And probably one of the biggest influences for me in parlor magic has been Jeff McBride. So, that's, I'm a little jealous of you out there. I guess it's one of the virtues of being out in Vegas. You can do that. But I mean, you've certainly had your hills to climb and dues to pay to get where you are. What do you think, I don't know, what would you say is one of the biggest struggles you've had to face to get where you are right now? And it could be something recent, but.
So I've been in Vegas for 5 years. I moved out here right after Magic Live 5 years ago. And what happened, the agreement was I graduated Indiana University studying business, theater, and psychology, all triple bachelors. And then I waited 6 months, got a little bit of cash, and then I had a week. I had the Magic Live 4 days, and then 3 days after to find a job. So I applied for like Matt King to be like his assistant, a couple others, and I couldn't find a job, but I found a guy named Mike Hankins who I was a really young guy. I was like, I came to Vegas, I want to make it out here. I just need a room to stay. And he took me under his wing. He had worked for Copperfield as well in the past. So he was like, all right, you want to like the nitty gritty Vegas, like it's not all glamorous, kid. So I started living with him, and then I started working at a magic shop just to get food under like the table and get a set mindset of performing over and over and over again. And then I was also networking with people like Amazing Jonathan and Kyle and Misty Knight and other local magicians in Vegas. And then and then one of my, my mentors, and I still call her my Vegas mother, Simone Marin, she took me under her wing and she was like, if you really want to take your magic to the next level, you need to take a class from Jeff McBride. Now, he has a thing called Wonderground every third Thursday here in Las Vegas that y'all have been training in. And so I've been going to that and watching the performers, and then I always wanted to be up on that stage. So I did it, and I kept introducing myself, and then I decided I need to take a master class with the master. And all of a sudden, I started taking that class. It was the class that Eugene Berger actually taught, which was a super like meaningful moment to me, and he became a mentor. But then there was a moment where everything I thought was going well, and then the person I was staying with, they didn't make their rent, even though I was paying them. So I kind of got kicked out, and I was home for 4 months, staying in my car, working at the magic shop, getting a gym membership just to take a shower, not knowing where the next thing will come in or if I'm ever going to like be in a house again. And so that was really tough to overcome. And then knowing that Vegas has its own little cliques and like their own little groups, like the Copperfield team doesn't talk to the Chris Angel team, and like everyone kind of sticks to themselves, and like you can get a little jaded out in Vegas because there's over like 400, 500 magicians here, and everyone wants the spot that you want. So the hardest part for me wasn't just like the networking, but it was staying true to myself and then not comparing myself and my level to where all of these other top pros were at. Because I would always like go into these meetings, go into these, functions and events and be like, am I worth being here? And I think as performers, especially like in conventions and stuff, when we're kids going to these conventions, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to show you a trick, show you a trick. When you get older, you tend to get a little bit more jaded, self-conscious, and be like, oh my gosh, these are the stars, these are people that we look up to. And I had to overcome that and be like, yes, they are the stars. They work harder than anybody else, but I am worth being here. And I have my own thing that I can bring to the table. And I think learning to embrace myself and my own style and my own magic and who I am as a human being was the hardest thing, being around the best of the best in the world. Because if I want to be the best, I needed to learn the mannerisms and the thought processes and the drive. And I've always had the drive, because moving from a small town in Indiana to Vegas is a huge freaking step. And it's that drive to like be willing to be homeless and give up being around family and just giving it every single thing I have. And it's a complete mindset change versus small town Indiana, where I'm a big fish in a small pond. I know I'm a small fish in a huge pond, but it's been a great learning experience, that's for sure. So,
Wow. You hit on so many great things there that, I've always had the philosophy, and different people have debated this with me over the years, but you and I kind of think the same, is that in order to be the best, you have to surround yourself with the best. And that can be people who are the best, the same thing you're striving for. For example, surrounding yourself with other magicians who are the best in their field. But it's not just that. I think it's surrounding yourself with people who are the best at what they do, whatever that is. I've been on the festival circuit for a while and doing like county festivals and stage shows at various groups. And I've kind of clicked in with this one particular group. And I'm the only magician, but these are circus geeks and circus freaks. And, there's contortionists and stilt walkers and fire breathers and people who are truly dedicated to the craft. And being around the mindset of I'm going to go out and rock it and be the best, and I'm not going to take anything less than the best. Second place doesn't exist. And being around people with that mindset makes you want to work as hard as them. And I think you found that, you're out there, you're around guys like Copperfield and Amazing Jonathan, Matt King. I mean, Matt King's a legend. I mean, Eugene Berger, McBride. Were you at the master class that McBride and Eugene Berger did in Indianapolis? I was pretty sure you were there because you were there with me. That was the first time I met McBride in person. And it was one of those things where I was actually terrified to meet McBride in person. And, because he's a magnanimous person, but he's extremely humble and was extremely polite to this kid who was coming up and talking to him at the time. And Eugene Berger, I mean, what a soul he was. He's one of those, there will never be another Eugene Berger. It's just irreplaceable.
So because that's also the first time I had seen Jeff McBride live. I was a nervous wreck when I started working with him and alongside of him.
Oh, sure.
A lot of magicians are so jaded by him for some weird reason, even though he's the most kindest soul and most knowledgeable man I personally know, and get to call him mentor, because I was afraid, because I kept hearing that little thing, oh, they're just going to turn you into a McBride and everyone's going to do kabuki, and that's not what Jeff's about. Yes, he teaches you the fundamentals and he teaches you his style, but he knows so much and he wants you to embrace who you are and your character. And that's one of the best things I'll always commend Jeff for, is he knows his stuff and he knows how to make anyone better.
So I'll tell you something that I remember from the master class in Indy, and I know you were there. This is for the people who weren't, but one thing that has stuck with me, and so for any magicians or creators or just people who are out there in general watching this is from Master Magician Jeff McBride. He asked the question to everybody in the room, do you want to create real magic? And of course now everybody's like, well, yeah. And so he had this flip chart, blank sheet flip chart. And he drew a line down the middle. And on one side, he wrote real. And on the other side, he wrote magic. And then in the real column, he had all of us list things that we were passionate about, whatever they were, music, theater, specific hobbies and interests, whatever was real to us. And then on the right-hand side, he had us write down whatever magic effects we were doing or working on, or if we had magic effects just laying around that we weren't sure what to do with. And we made 2 columns of what was real to us and what was magic to us. And then he had us close our eyes and take a pen and draw a line from one side to the other, and then create something with what was real to you with a magic effect you're working on. And so I've known people who have been jaded by McBride because there's this, you have a guy who opens a magic and mystery school, like who's the cabaret magician. I think there's a stigma that, oh, he's just trying to create more clones of himself. And McBride isn't about that at all. And he's talked about that a lot. And he certainly was not like that at all in the master class that we took with him. But I mean, that was one of the key pieces of, I guess, structure he gave to us was how to take what was real to us and make it personable and put it into the magic. So I'm really jealous that you get to work with him. That's fantastic. I'm so happy for you.
One thing away from him. So I don't know how much of that, I mean, you remember that, but my favorite thing about his lecture is that his entire lecture, he only did one trick, and he taught it at the end, but it was a rubber band trick where he going like this, and he pulled it down, up, and then he linked it in the middle. And he wouldn't teach us that in trick until the very end. And I think that's a big thing. He's huge into stories, and I've adapted that a lot in my scripting. But knowing that how deeply he can make someone care about a rubber band. And I think as magicians, you have to make even the smallest little details, even with Copperfield, like every detail matters. We should figure out why it works, and then let that be the magic. So with me, going with these guys, it's like the connection we make between each other, our audiences, that's the real magic. Trick aside, the trick has to be super strong and powerful, but with the scripting, with the story, with the realness in our magic is everything.
A common problem I've seen with a lot of magicians, and admittedly, I think all of us suffered from this at one point or another, was we had this mindset of where the illusion started and where the illusion stopped. And for us, it was the trick. And it's so much more than that. I do dove magic, and a lot of people who are doing dove magic, the reason they give up on dove magic is because they try to make the dove appearing as what the illusion is, and it's not. It's so much more than that. And if you watch guys like Lance Burton do his dove act, it's nothing short of poetry. And so, and you look at Copperfield, his illusion starts the second he steps on stage. And you're in this world of illusion, and it stops when the curtain falls. And so when we see the whole show as a presentation and the whole show as a performance and a whole show as a connection, because if the only time you're trying to make a connection with somebody is that small bit where you're doing the magic, then the rest of it is just boring, empty space. So you hit on a lot of really key things there. The third question I have for you is, you've worked on a lot of different stages and you're doing a lot of different projects. And I know for a fact I've seen you do close up, and I've seen you do parlor, and I've seen you do stage, and I've seen you do all these different things. Of the different types of performance, parlor, stage, all that, what is your favorite and why?
I love them each for their own different reasons. It's hard to pick because I have babies in every one of them.
Sure.
I personally like performing parlor magic. I love being able to take my hour show in a carry-on suitcase. That way, whenever I've had my luggage for illusion show get lost, and stall in and not showing up, and then me going to like a convenience store and be like, all right, I have to fill an hour with whatever I can find. Um, I love the parlor because close-up magic, you can get really close, you can touch people more ways too, but there's still that condensed space. Whereas I like to be open. I'm trained through Indiana University to be like an actor and up and out.
Yep.
So with stage is great, and you can reach a lot of people. But because I still like to do the close-up tricks in the show, like where you need a camera on stage so it's blowing up on the screen,
Mm-hmm.
I still like to be able to connect with my audience. So even if there's 500 people or less, I can still connect with you just as easy as I can with a close-up set. And I don't have to have these grand illusions because I can do like a coin matrix and still blow you away with a screen, and it still connects with you, and I don't have to pay for hundreds of thousands of dollars of illusions, which could only last 30 seconds.
Right. Somebody who was very skilled at that, who has also tragically passed away, I think it was a year or two ago, was Ricky Jay. Ricky Jay could run an entire show with one deck of cards and play to a room full of people with a single deck of cards. And it was because his presence was bigger than any illusion, and his personality was bigger than any illusion he was going to do. And you look at guys like Eugene Berger. Eugene Berger was the same way. Even though he was a very calm, very what's the word? He was a gentle presence in the room. It was larger than anything else you were going to be around, and it filled that room. So it never felt like he was on an empty stage, if that makes sense. And when you have theater training, you learn how to be present in the stage and absorb your space, and how to control, your sight lines and your movement. But I'm kind of with you. I've got little things in each category, so I really get that. And when I've asked other guys, some people go through a transition where they do the really big illusions at one stage in their life, and then as they get older and as they get more tired maybe, or they evolve, they go into smaller, doing smaller performances.
They do mentalism because they don't have to carry as much stuff.
I wrote and performed my first true whole mentalism show. I've always had little bits, but actually to do an actual mentalism show with 0 sleight of hand last year, no card tricks, it was the weirdest thing for me to be able to put all of my energy into the presentation and the performance and not have to worry about if something's being seen or if I'm, what are my angles? It didn't matter, so I kind of understand why people do it. I kind of do.
Well, I heard backstage at a Magic conference, it was like Max Maven and a whole bunch of different other people. The other guys were packing up their big dog cages and all their illusions, and Max just walks over and he goes, "Oh, are you packing?" And he had like one of his little billfold, and he goes, it was like, wow.
Yeah, pretty much. The fourth question, and then I want to get to some magic. You've had a lot of mentors, obviously, and you've talked about how McBride is one for you and how you've had mentors in the past. But I mean, you think about everything that you've been doing in your magic career. Is there one person that, I mean, if they were watching this, you would want to give a shout out to as your somebody who was really the most of a mentor to you? Is there one person who stands out, or a couple people?
There's a couple people. I will tell you the best two. The first one, obviously, is my mother. I have to always give credit to my mother. She's the one person that when the rest of my family said he's not going to make it in Vegas, she's the only person that has believed in me, and she's up pretty much every show no matter where in the world I am, which is amazing. And she's kind of like not a magician, but she's been around it enough to where she can help me with the magic too.
Sure.
Second person, hands down, is Jeff McBride. He kind of took me under his wing. He's made sure to, I've taken like every single class he teaches, and he's taught me how to teach magic and how to be a better magician and human being, not just magic, but like how to go through life with all these struggles as an entertainer, and traveling tips. So it would definitely be Jeff McBride, hands down.
Sure. Wow. And, and to anybody who's watching this, if you haven't, to quote Jeff McBride, find your Yoda. That was one thing that he always talked about, was finding your Yoda, who is find a mentor, find somebody. And even if that person doesn't stay your mentor forever, you want to find somebody that's willing to work you through the stage that you're at, whatever that is. And what's I've always found is that mentors aren't that hard to find if you're willing to work and you're willing to be patient and you're willing to just look. You'll find people in the magic community all over that are out there to help you, and take their advice for whatever you value it at, good, bad, ugly, otherwise. I've had people give me advice where I just went, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. And they end up being right because I was being arrogant or stupid or something. But if you're watching this and you're, not sure where to go next, try to find somebody that's at that spot. It would be my advice. I mean, you found McBride, and he's clearly, he's looking at you now, you are a very different person than the last time that I saw you years ago. Your confidence, your presentation, your posture is a very different Jordan than the Jordan that I talked to and hung out with years ago. So it's a, I'm happy to see, that you found that for you.
And Jeff, one of Jeff's also biggest quotes is, when the student is ready, the master will appear. And there are still times where
he likes that one.
Right? I'm starting to sound like him. But it's so true. And like, I had to question myself when I started work. I was like, why did you choose me? And he was like, you were persistent, you were passionate, and you were willing to give it everything. And I think that's, rare. And if you're willing to put in the work, I'm willing to teach you. And you were right. You're so right. There are so many mentors out there, even if it's in your local club or just a neighbor next door or just an old performer or even a current performer. Like getting under someone's wing and learning what they're doing, what made them so successful, and then also getting your own spin. I also tell people to get mentors in different categories. So film and, stage, theater, because those mentors outside of the magic world will also help boost you and give you an edge. Like Jeff studied kabuki, right? So that gave him an edge, and, some studied mime. So find the mentors in your life that make who you are as a person better. And then you can't not expand and grow as a human being, as a performer.
And one of the things too, join local acting communities, get involved with, if you're wanting to go into stage and presentation overall, get involved with community theater, get out there and get practice rehearsing a script and putting it out in front of people. There's very few physical disciplines that are out there that won't benefit you in some way if you're trying to be a magician. Whether, I wanted to learn, I was very big into cabaret when I first started, and I wanted to learn how to move with music better because I was very clunky. So I took ballroom dancing lessons for a little while, and it helped me kind of develop not only how to step with purpose, martial arts, a lot, I did martial arts. A lot of people have done martial arts. It teaches you discipline and how to move with purpose. And so there's very few physical disciplines that are out there that we can't find some way to bring into us, and they'll help you. If you're nervous about public speaking, either go the teller route and just don't talk. There are plenty, and that was something too. Think about the benefit there. You can play for, if you don't talk, you can play for any crowd in the world.
Absolutely.
So if you're nervous about public speaking, just develop an act that doesn't require you to talk at all, and problem solved. And now you can play anywhere in the world. Yeah.
Only need 3 minutes. If you can do 3 minutes, that 3 minutes can take you all over the world. So.
Yeah, it does. All right, so let's get to some magic. I want to see something.
So this is something I adapted. So have you ever gotten home one day from a long day and you reach in and you realize that you've eaten all of your snacks and you're like, oh. Well, if people like you and me become magicians, because we can go like this, give it a snap, and we can actually make our own Oreo cookies. Right? So I don't know how you personally like to eat your Oreos, Devin, but personally, I like to take them, lift all of the cream right out of them. But I was a fat kid growing up in Indiana, and with a little bit of magic, I learned that I could just make my own cream. And then when I was really hungry, I can make it grow bigger and bigger and have the most out of life. And that's why I do magic forever, because I can make my own food. Why not?
Yeah, you'll never be a starving artist at this rate. You can live off your own Oreos. I love it. See, stuff like that is great because you've combined a few different principles, and because I don't give away secrets, and I know a little bit of how you did this. You got me on a few aspects of it. First off, very well performed, very clean. Your handling was smooth. I loved it. Um, you've done what I think is a key part of creating magic, which is you've taken different things that work and you've combined them and worked it together to be different things. You could have just stopped at producing the Oreos, showing an empty packet and then producing the Oreos. To take it a step further and add in the removing of the cream, then it turning into a double stuffed, triple stuffed Oreo, was it just kind of one of those kicker moments that just it's the punctuation mark.
Yeah.
A sentence is nothing if you don't have the punctuation mark. And so that was the perfect ending to that. I love it. It's quick, it's clean, good table magic. That would be great strolling magic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
That's
That's awesome. So at this point, you're doing the friend shows. I've seen you advertise on Facebook. You're doing the friend shows. I was fortunate enough to be able to see one of your shows as well, which is a great show, very polished. It was over Zoom, and a lot of magicians are embracing the Zoom format, which is a great format. During the pandemic, we've been able to take technology and still, go out and do what we do. What if people wanted to check you out? Do you have a website? What's the best way to get a hold of Jordan Rooks?
The best way to get a hold of Jordan Rooks is definitely check me out on Instagram and Facebook at I am Jordan Rooks. So it's just like telling you the sentence, I am Jordan Rooks, my name. I do have a website, it's jordanrooks.com. I do update it sometimes, but definitely keep in touch with me on social media. And then you can see my upcoming shows. I am applying for more Fringe festivals as the United States and the whole world starts opening back up from COVID. Zoom is always going to be around. And I think that even when live shows go back, even like right now, as long as that thing says recording, that means that we are live. So all of these Fringe festivals are live, unless it's like a pre-recorded thing entirely. So I have adapted my live show, which is huge on audience participation, to still having that audience participation and that connectiveness, but through a computer screen. So anytime I have a Fringe festival, you guys are all welcome to come see it. I put out new videos on Instagram and Facebook, usually every week. And then I will always blast as much as possible my live shows.
Great. And I'm going to have links to Jordan's information in the comments down below. Jordan, thank you for zooming in from Vegas, and I wish you all the luck and success out there, and we'll have to get together and jam again sometime soon.
For sure, my friend. Thank you
All
so
right.
much for having me. This is awesome.
Take it easy, brother.
You too.
Bye.